it just wasn't getting better. And I started buying into the fact that it wasn't getting better. I mean, I was a year sober and I'm going to AA and people are saying in NA and they're like, yeah, I'm 6 months sober and my life's turning around and all this. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. I'm a year sober and I hate this.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors and ideators so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough, not nearly enough. And when we do, when we engage with people in pain, most of us are not very good at it. Why would we be good at that? We don't learn it anywhere. So, of course, this is a problem, and one of the reasons why I have this podcast, so that we can have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with people who have tried to end their lives, or sometimes people who are thinking about it, in large part to help more people in more places hopefully feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. If you are an attempt survivor or an ideator and you'd like to talk, I'd like to talk with you. I really would. Please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com. One relatively new thing or development that's kind of cool. This material, these conversations, or at least parts of them, are being used by academics now in 4 countries, the US, Canada, New Zealand, and Brazil. And I am part of the process in okaying this research. So if it is research that is doing not good stuff, then I say no. But it is for good, and I will keep you posted if you're curious and want to learn more about any one or more of those studies. Real big thanks to a couple of recent anonymous donors. Really need the support. It helps. So thank you. Finally, remember, of course, we're talking about suicide here on the Suicide Noted podcast. My guests and I don't hold back. I know it's not a good fit for everybody, so please take that into account before you listen or as you listen. But I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today, I am talking with Eric. Eric lives in Idaho, and he is a suicide attempt survivor. Eric, my man, what's up?
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, man?
Not too bad at all.
You got a cool little background. You got the thing. You got.
I have a whole studio actually. I do social media for a living.
Yeah.
So I have a podcast room, and then I have a whole studio that I just go to different walls for different type of content.
I got a table and an old laptop.
There you go.
And a shitty mic, and it works. I'm glad we connected through Kelly, who I don't even think you know Kelly. I think she was just a follower and randomly messaged you, right?
Yeah, I got a random email, and I don't do a ton of podcasts, but I do every now and then. And I was having to be sitting on my couch, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I usually it's about addiction when people want to do one.
Yeah.
And I haven't done a podcast in a while about suicide. I was like, heck yeah, I'll do that.
All right, cool. All right. So number one, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Let's just say right off the bat, Eric, are you in Idaho?
Yeah, I live in Boise, Idaho now.
Oh, sweet. I rolled through there. I did this little tour for this podcast. Beautiful city.
Yeah, no, it really is. Pacific Northwest is awesome.
Just so people know who Eric is online.
The best place to find me is ericbzink.com. Z-I-N-K.
And then you can find all the stuff there.
You can find all my links there for Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
I just want people to understand, Eric's got millions. I have hundreds. But I've been in the game for 6 years. I've got like 400 conversations. I wasn't really doing much. I know we're not here to talk about this, but just for a little context, man, I don't know if they're shadow banning me or what, but my content it's kind of good. And I got like 11 people following, but I've got a decent following for the podcast, and that's my main vehicle, so it's fine.
Yeah, I learned really quick with social media, like podcasts was, because I even have my own podcast, and it's therapeutic. You know, I find it very therapeutic more than I do as an actual revenue stream or anything of that sort. But just to talk with others it's a nice way to talk with others that maybe you'd never connect with, you know?
Totally. I don't think I would have met, for obvious reasons, most people who I've spoken with, I would have never imagined that I would have gotten the kinds of conversations, because you build trust and eventually people are like, okay, he's not an asshole, or at least it doesn't seem like an asshole. You know, this is me thinking about what people think about me. They hear the conversation and like, okay, I might want to do that, or he's not my style.
Mm-hmm.
We were introduced, Eric and I, kind of through a past guest, Kelly, who we're not sure if she lives in New Jersey or New York because it always keeps changing. She was a recent guest of mine, and we did an update episode. So thank you, Kelly, for connecting me with Eric. Kelly, if you're not listening to this particular episode, I'm shocked, and get your shit together. Eric, what's your connection to suicide?
My connection to suicide is I lost a wife to suicide in 2015. She committed suicide. My dad committed suicide in 2017. He was a really successful doctor. And then I attempted suicide in 2018.
That's a connection.
Hmm.
We can talk about all those.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very transparent on all of it. The only thing that I do say that usually pisses people off is I do use a lot of the word committed.
You're
Suicide.
not talking to the police language here, bro.
Okay, good. Because the definition of committed is like to the cause. You are dedicated to a cause. And that's when it comes to suicide. Even myself, I was dedicated 100% all in that I was going to make this happen. It's not anything other than that.
And this is also an interesting point is you get to talk how you want. And as a podcast in life and deal
Mhm.
with consequences, and I get it. I know why you framed it that way. But for my listeners, and most of my listeners already get it. Here's the thing. You don't have to listen to this podcast episode if you don't want to. You could always hit pause if you don't like the way Eric speaks or uses a word you're offended by. Too fucking bad. Really. That really, 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 because you're doing so much more harm by policing language.
Mhm. I think it's one of those things when you put too much energy into language, you're putting energy into something that is preventing people from talking about suicide.
You're just more silencing, period.
Mhm.
And they're also doing a whole lot of virtue signaling and all that bullshit. We know that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I always joke about this when it comes on because I don't have a lot of more and more like middle-aged guys. I don't know your age. I don't need to know your exact age, but I always kind of half joke like we're just two middle-aged dudes talking about suicide. And they're not
Exactly.
a lot. There's a lot of them out there, but they're a little less likely to come forward and talk.
Yeah. Oh, tremendously. A lot of stigma around it.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. So I appreciate that even more. One of the things I ask is always really kind of tricky to frame this stuff. And especially you've got one attempt. Let me ask you this: when did you first, if you can recall, first think I might want to not be here?
I mean, I think you do from a childhood. I think all kids in their own sense. I mean, if you're real about it, you don't even know what these thoughts are, but you get these thoughts like, hey, maybe life is easier without me there. I've always kind of had those thoughts. Nothing that I'd ever really want to act on. My childhood's also a little different too, though, in the fact that I didn't even realize it until like later on in life. But at about 3 years old, my dad actually, before he committed suicide, he attempted suicide when I was 3. And depression's always ran in my family. And so it was never like really looked at as like this possibility. It was always there, but it was never, it was like that sarcasm, well, like life's better off without me here, or something of that sort. It was never a real big idolization of it or like a fascination with it. Not until later on in life and like the older I started getting where it was like, if I wasn't here, I wouldn't have to deal with any of this.
When did that start?
I would say right around 24, 25.
It's like struggle, like thinking more seriously about it.
Yeah, thinking a lot more serious about it to the point, I got diagnosed with ADD at 13, re-diagnosed ADHD at 17. In my 20s, I ended up getting diagnosed with major depressive disorder. The older that I started getting, the more that it was like, hey, this is something that if I just did it, I could just be done with this crap.
And so, what stops you from doing it until 2018? Because I assume
What pretty much just talking to my dad, talking to my family. If my family's always very open, actually, ironically, about depression.
Mhm.
And so when it started to really get bad, I would start talking to them. I'd go back into therapy. I would see what I'm struggling with. A lot of times it was, things that I needed to change in life or things that I was very bad at healing childhood trauma and trauma in general or grief. But a lot of it too, like if I did make some changes in life, it would give me a temporary reprieve.
Yeah.
I did learn very quickly though, like drugs like Zoloft, not Zoloft, but Lexapro and Prozac. I don't do well with antidepressants. I am one of those that if I take an antidepressant, I'm that factor that they say, hey, it could cause suicidal thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm that person.
All right. 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 You're also very involved in helping people with addiction, right?
Oh yeah, tremendously.
So I imagine that comes from a personal experience.
Oh yeah, I'm a recovering cocaine and alcoholic addict.
But that's how you coped, or one way.
Oh yeah, tremendously. It was the ultimate cope. I mean, I don't look at addiction as a problem. Addiction was a solution.
Yeah.
It was the quickest and easiest solution there was. It was a temporary numb. It was a temporary fix for my brain. Unfortunately, alcohol is a depressant and you start to get more depressed. And then I found if I did cocaine at the same time, then I'd feel good. And so it was just trying to be the master chemist to outsmart my brain and my trauma.
A lot of people are doing that.
Oh, yeah.
I had my run with cocaine, and I will tell you to this day, don't bring it near me.
Uh huh.
Like I'm the guy that just has to stay away from it
Yep.
because I know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm preaching to the choir. You attempted in 18.
Yep.
You talk about method and how you tried?
I was going to hang myself. The reason I was going to hang myself, and this was my whole thing, was I couldn't stop it once I did it because I knew myself well enough.
Mhm.
I didn't own a gun, and the whole reason I didn't own a gun, and I still don't own a gun even to today, is I struggle with depression.
Right.
I am very impulsive. I am very ADHD. If you get me on that right mood, and I have the ability just to do something very quickly, I'm going to just put it in my mouth. I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm not even going to
Yeah.
think twice about it.
Right.
So I knew that. And so I've always learned to like kind of own my mental health. And in 2018, I was a year sober. I'd already lost my dad to suicide. I already lost my wife to suicide. And I got to the point that I just didn't want to fucking live. I was done. I felt like I was pretty much just a burden to everybody. And I was just done. This wasn't for me. I'd lived long enough. My family overcame and was fine with my dad committing suicide. I mean, I know it fucked them up. They're not fine. But they already went through that, so it kind of like propped them. I'm like, dude, just like it's a very scary place to be because you're so numb, you're not thinking about anybody. It is selfish as hell, and I just wanted
Oh,
out,
wait.
and I just
What's
wanted
selfish?
to stop.
What's selfish?
I believe suicide's very selfish.
Oh, my guests are being a fucking uproar, and that's cool. Tell me why.
The reason I feel it's very selfish is because depression is isolating and it's self-sabotaging, and we don't own the self-sabotage. When I would get depressed, I would set everybody up for failure. You would ask me how I'm doing, and Sean, you'd be like, "Hey, Eric, how are you doing, man?" And I'd be like, "You know what, I'm good, Sean." And if you left it at that and you'd walk away because I answered your question, you're taking it as face value. You have your own life going on too. As you walked away, I'd be like, "Yeah, see, Sean doesn't care about me." Because if you really knew me, if you really loved me, he would ask me really how I'm doing. I expected you to be able to read my brain and my mind. You can't. I'm setting you up for failure. I'm also setting myself up for failure in a very selfish way because you're, as my true friend, asking to help me. How are you? But I'm not giving you the ability to be the same piece of shit sometimes I am that says, Sean, how are you doing? Like, I expect you to tell me how you're doing, but why won't I tell you how I'm doing?
How's that? How's that? So connect that to me with the word selfish.
And so it's selfish in the way that we get to the point that it's just about us. You think of nothing else. You think of no future else. And it's essentially it gets to this point that it's my pain, not realizing there's so many other people who want to help me with this, that I have to take on that burden myself, which is very selfish of me to take on all my problems on my own when I have loved ones who don't want me to.
You can only speak for you, and I'm sure
Oh yeah, no, I'm only speaking for myself. Anyone could say what they want. I look at it though as something that, in the grand scheme of things, when I ended up making it through this, and I told people that I have a problem and I need help. Oh, dude, I had people's worlds stop. The
really.
people that I thought abandoned me and didn't care about me, and I was doing a favor for, were all of a sudden all around me.
And was it more helpful than anything else?
Oh, absolutely, it was. The best thing ever was to be honest and not allow my brain to actually override everything and to actually tell people how I was doing.
Yeah.
And to realize that they actually cared and not even knowing why I'm struggling as bad as I am, just that I need help and them helping me get help, you know?
And that was after the attempt?
Yeah.
Did you actually hang yourself?
No, I actually stopped from frozen vodka.
Oh, hold
What
on.
ended up happening, I got sober. I was about a year sober. I was coming up on my dad's anniversary. I didn't want to live anymore. Can't figure out how I'm going to kill myself. Accidental overdose and stuff isn't really a solution. I'm not going to go to a drug dealer's house because I'd just go get high. Fentanyl wasn't around at the time. If fentanyl would have been, I would have just grabbed fentanyl and I would just drop that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out into the garage where I had an area. I hung myself with a rope. I literally sat there and hung from it. And I was like, all right, this holds my weight. My wife I knew came home during lunch, my ex-wife at the time. And I didn't want her to come home during lunch to see this. So my plan was I knew she was coming home. I will have lunch for her. Everything will be normal. She comes home. Everything's normal. Feed her lunch. She goes back to work. I lay out a plastic tarp. I have bleach out there. I have a scrub brush because I already know that I'm going to tear at my fucking throat. I know
Right.
how this is going to go down. I have the stool right there. I'm going to resist this as soon as I start to hang. And I do need a little bit of courage to do this because there is a little bit of me that's like, what the fuck am I doing? But I don't care. I write out my suicide letters. I leave them. My whole thing is I knew I had a bottle of Grey Goose vodka in the freezer that was from a party back in like April. And so my whole plan was, okay, I left out the letters. I'm going to slam this vodka. I'm going to take my step stool out there. By that time, the vodka, the warmth of it's going to be hitting me. Just going to put my head right through this. And I'm just going to drop. I'm going to kick the stool and I'm good. The thing that actually stopped it though is when I grabbed the vodka out of the freezer, it was frozen and I fucking snapped.
Wait, this is fascinating. It's frozen, so you can't drink it.
Right.
And that
And
was
it's
something that made, but like, because what's this brain stuff? The same brain that was about to have you drink it and then kill yourself is the same brain that snaps, which is an interesting choice of words. And what happens?
oh, I lost it. I got mad because I knew exactly what happened. I pull out this vodka that my ex-wife dumped out because she thought I was gonna fucking relapse. And I was like, you bitch. Like, I got mad. Like, how dare you think I was a year sober? Like, how dare you think I was gonna relapse? Now all of a sudden, that anger and that rage I felt was a lot stronger than anything else I felt at that given moment.
Oh,
I mean, I'm throwing that thing, I smash it on the ground, my dog is there, and I'm just like, I can't believe that she thought I would relapse. And it just kind of dawns on me all of a sudden of like, this is what I was gonna, this is something's not right. And I literally stopped. I called my mom right away and she picked up. She happened to pick up after like the second ring. And I just told her that something is wrong and I need help. And I told her I literally have my rope out there. I'm supposed to be hanging myself right now, and I'm not. And I'm going to take this as a sign, and I need help. Like, I don't know what's wrong. And
mm-hmm.
that's all I kept repeating. I don't know what's wrong.
What did your mom say?
And then after that, my mom was like, all right. So my mom started setting it up so that she could come out and see me. She's like, I'm going to be out there here either today or tomorrow. I lived in California at the time. She was like, you need to right now. We're going to call, your wife up. She was at work. My wife ended up coming home early from work. I actually had Xanax still from my dad's suicide. And so she just stayed on the phone with me the entire time. I ended up calling my psychiatrist and then my psychologist and set up appointments with them that day. They got me in immediately.
You got a
And
good support system, my friend.
yeah, no, that was the one thing is I always had a really good support system, especially with family. But like I put myself into a corner where I truly thought I was such a burden to them. For months, I hadn't even talked to them because they didn't care and their life was going to be better off without me.
Yeah. I fear for the people the most that just don't have anyone, because there are people that just don't have people, and that's
You,
it's a really, really rough spot.
it really is. And the thing that I even tell people though, if you don't have anyone, because I get a lot of that where people like nobody does care, and I get it. But do you know who cares more than anyone is strangers?
Oh yeah, you think so?
I do. And I always tell this analogy because no one's ever proved me wrong with it.
Ooh.
That if you wanted to truly kill yourself,
Mm-hmm.
go to a grocery store and tell 10 people, 10 random strangers in that grocery store that you're going to kill yourself tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You're in so much pain that I'm going to commit suicide tonight and I don't have any help.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you 8 of those motherfuckers are going to help you. Not all 10, but I guarantee you 8 will because of the human
Maybe
nature.
not all 10. Not all
They
10.
don't know you. You're going to kill yourself. What? Wait, don't. Like what? Let's call 911. Let's do something. If somebody came up to me randomly out of the blue that I don't know and said I'm going to kill myself, dude, brother, we're calling 911 right now.
All right, I am going to push back a little bit.
Okay.
But this is in a good way. Like, grown-ups can actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
You're making a good point, and I think you're probably right, whether the number is 7 or 8 or 9. But that's a very extreme situation.
Mm-hmm.
What we're talking about with support is more, and that's included in that, is more the day-to-day connection. So you're making an interesting point that strangers won't let another stranger die. But they remain strangers, so that sort of one-off moment is now over here. You're alive the next day, and you still don't have anyone. So point taken, but.
And I agree on that. And I guess through what I've been through, my thing is that you have to, no one's going to come and rescue you.
Yeah, no.
And the thing is that you're so isolated and you have no one anymore that what are you going to do to find people into your life? There's people that want to be, you can always, I'm 45 years old, man. I'd like to have friends. I don't even know how to go make friends.
Yeah.
And so it's up to us to find and be involved in some kind of society and getting outside of the house.
But this is what people do. It's interesting. Is it always falls on the person, which might just be what being a grown-up is. I hear this a lot from people I sometimes disagree with. Just talk about it. They should have talked about it. They should have done this. I'm like, what the fuck about the people? What about the people around them? But you're making a point in your particular case. because that's who I'm most interested in hearing from and about is Eric Zink today. You push the people away
Mhm,
in myriad ways, it sounds like.
mhm. And there are some people that just have no support at all in their life, and that I even totally get. But ultimately, I'm responsible, and I have to take accountability, and the thing I think that helped me the most with my depression and has helped me the most in life is to not be the victim. I had a
Mhm.
very victim mentality. My victim mentality enabled me in addiction. It was always poor me.
Yeah, but
It
that's
was never my fault. I could never take accountability where even in the smallest thing, maybe it's not all my fault,
right.
but there's a small part of it that at least if I was there, if I was in a situation, it was a bad situation and shit went down and I didn't do anything, but I was there, I have 10% responsibility or
Yeah, yeah.
accountability for being there.
Sure.
And so that was the thing I had to that helped me the most in life was just starting to take accountability for my life and my decisions and realizing I'm not a victim to it.
I have a clarification question, okay?
Mhm,
You said you lost your wife in 2015,
mhm.
and then I heard you talk about an ex-wife and then a wife at the time when you were talking about your suicide. So can you clarify the timeline so my audience is
So I've been married 5 times. Welcome to anxious attachment style. Welcome to trauma. Welcome to addiction. And
Wait,
those
wait, wait,
divorces.
wait, 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 wait. You're 45?
Yep.
Are you just a stone cold player?
Oh no, I was a stone cold addict and I was a stone cold victim. So I got married when I was 19. Really young, didn't know any better, wanted to prove my parents wrong, wanted to move out. We got divorced at 23, too
Okay.
young to get married, didn't even know what I wanted in life. Was living in California. We weren't made for each other. I hold a lot of accountability into the damage that I did. I grew up in a household where I didn't know how to have a proper disagreement. I didn't understand how to actually talk about things. I had a dad that was very cold and a mom that was very loving, so very opposite polar opposites.
Mm-hmm.
So I get divorced that time, and then I got remarried in my later 20s to a girl who wanted a green card, and I thought she was really hot, except she was Jordanian, and they're just the language barrier and the family traditional values. I was more concerned with alcohol and coke and my job than I was that, so I got it annulled. My third wife was a raging addict with me. She was my best friend. I love that wife. She's the one that ended up committing suicide. During her suicide, though, we were separated because we were both raging addicts, and I knew that we couldn't be together. She had just gotten over Wernicke's enotropy. Alcohol blocks thionine or B vitamins from absorbing into your brain, so your brain starts to die. It's a wet brain. And I could not get her to stop drinking, and I was a mass enabler. It's not her fault either. She could call me up and say, "Hey, I need alcohol," and guess what? I'm coming home with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't be that person. So we were separated at the time. She ends up committing suicide. I had a receptionist that I worked with that was way younger than me. I'm like, fuck it. And she ended up, we started dating for a while. She ended up coming down with melanoma and I had really good insurance and we were dating and stuff. I'm like, fuck it, we'll just get married. We were married for 4 years and then we ended up getting divorced. I had to do a lot of healing, a lot of therapy, a lot of realizing I ran away from all my trauma and grief and a lot of growth. And then I ended up meeting the wife that I'm with now, and it's been great. I mean, it's amazing to have healthy communication, to have healthy disagreements, to having a life all of a sudden that started to flourish because I realized that when you work together with somebody, things can definitely get a lot better.
You got a lot better chance, right?
Yep.
Give me
So
one sec.
that's the skinny rundown.
You still have a way with women, no matter how you want to frame it, because you don't get married 5 times without women liking you.
That's the thing. Addicts are very charming people. We are walking nightmares, but we are extremely charming and manipulative.
You know them better than I do, probably. You spend a lot of time in that space. This is wife number 5, and she's present. Probably not going to be a wife number 6.
No,
You good? You good to go
I'm
now?
good. I'm done. We have a house. We have too many goals and dreams and too much traveling this year and next year and the year after that. Plus, it's the first wife I ever met that I was sober when I met.
That's probably changes things somewhat. Do you know? There's a few questions I'm not supposed to ask, so I go out of my way to ask them, especially if someone is very open to talking.
Go
But
ahead and ask.
in 2018, what's the simplest answer to why did you want to die?
I was in so much pain, and it's even hard to describe where the pain came from. And a lot of it was is really unhealed grief and trauma, feeling even partially responsible for my wife's suicide,
Yeah.
feeling, responsible for my dad's suicide, everything that I didn't know how to address and handle. I was doing so much cocaine and alcohol that it really fucked my brain up. It took me a while to get just mentally
Right.
okay.
physically,
Yeah.
mentally, like
It
physically.
is just like the rewiring of dopamine and just how my brain react. It just wasn't getting better, and I started buying into the fact that it wasn't getting better. I mean, I was a year sober, and I'm going to AA, and people are saying in NA, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm 6 months sober, and my life's turning around and all this," and I'm like, "Fuck you, dude. I'm a year sober, and I hate this. I'm
Yeah.
sober, but I hate all of this, and I don't understand why." And I had too much ego behind it to ask for help really to try and even understand because people would just tell me, "Oh, well, read the big book," or "Let's do the steps again." And I never had anyone who even kind of brought up, "Well, what kind of traumas you've been through or what are you going through?" You know? And it happened to be August, and both of my dad killed himself August 13th, 2017, and my wife killed herself August 27th, 2015. My
Mm.
birthday's August 17th. So August was one of those months that, two of the people that I loved the most abandoned me. That alone is trauma trying to understand this and grasp this and realize that it's not me, that I did do everything I knew how to do and working through the process.
I am willing to bet that a man who loses his wife and then his father and is an addict, even though at the time you tried, you were no longer using, but nonetheless, like there's a pretty high chance you're going to try to kill yourself. This isn't some like false pat on your back, but like, how the fuck did you do that and make it through?
Honestly, it's because I didn't have a gun. It's because I didn't have a gun and honestly, fentanyl wasn't around. All bullshit aside, like I knew drugs well enough that I didn't want to relapse. It was the only identity I had after my dad killed himself because I was 3 weeks sober and my dad killed himself. Even when I got sober, I tell people this all the time. I got sober that night when I decided I was going to get sober, and I'm like, I'm going to get sober. I got to change my life, my rock bottom. The next morning when I woke up, as addicts' brains do, I was like, well, it wasn't really that bad. I'm just going to get sober for like 6 months. I'll get sober for 6 months. I'll put my life back together. And it's natural that I relapse so I can get away with this. This is fine. Well, then when my dad ended up killing himself, it was 3 weeks into my sobriety and I had nothing. I already was starting to realize how toxic my marriage was, how toxic I was. Like this wasn't a good situation. And now all of a sudden my dad just like I had nothing. And it was like ironically, out of everything, I grasped the only reality I had was my sobriety. So it's like I
Mm.
grasped onto my sobriety to help carry me through instead of addressing the pain.
As an outsider, I would just think the first fucking thing you do is go for a bottle and a bag of Coke.
My dad never saw me sober. And I was bragging to him so much this time how I was sober and this, that. Yeah, you're going to get sober this time.
Must
You
have been.
aren't you, bud? And I knew he didn't believe me, and it was like this
Oh.
anger I had at him that, like, "I'm gonna prove you wrong." That's why, like, when it came to thoughts of even relapsing and stuff, it was like, I didn't wanna let him down in my own way. It wasn't even necessarily for me for a while. It was for a guy that died, That's why I got sober in a sense, and that's why I struggled with sobriety for a while. But also, it was like, there was no drugs out there, like, I'm not gonna do heroin, I hate needles. And like again, if I would have known fentanyl was around, I would have just bought a bunch of that because it's cheap now, especially, and I would have just dropped it and I would have nodded myself off and went to sleep.
Right. So you'd be dead.
Oh yeah, I'd be dead. I'd be dead if I was to do this again nowadays.
And now 7 or 8 years later, it sounds like you want to be alive.
Oh yeah, dude, I love my life.
So isn't that interesting? So you wouldn't have had it.
Even back then, if I could have looked at what my life is now, I would have been like, oh my God. Like, what am I
Sure.
thinking? It took a lot of work to get here. Like nobody did this for me. I had to make life decisions that were really difficult. I ended up getting divorced. I ended up filing for divorce and I ended up leaving in 2020. I moved to Arizona. I was 40 years old. I'm like, I have to restart my life. I'm like 3 years sober. I'm still dealing with crap in my head at that time. I've spent a ton of time in therapy, EMDR therapy, learning about anxious attachment to secure attachment. How do you actually grieve? Like I started putting in the work, and then all of a sudden my life started getting easier, and doors started opening up, opportunities started opening up, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, I get to travel around, and I get to live this dream life that I never thought I'd get to live.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was like, and I actually get to enjoy it.
I'm a little envious, but it's cool to hear. You know, what's interesting is that a lot of people in the suicide prevention space, which does a lot of good work, but one of the narratives I hear often, I tried, or maybe I lost somebody, or maybe I almost tried. Look at how good my life is now. Essentially, don't do it. But one of the things I've learned in having all the conversations is that yes, that sometimes is true, but sometimes it's not. And there's a lot of people where their life still fucking sucks. And I will ask them this question. And I might have a self-selected group of people who are coming to me where it skews towards that, admittedly,
Mhm.
right? I don't know. If you could go back, would you want a different result from that day? And some of them say, absolutely. Not you, I know, but some do. And I think that surprises people.
Oh, yeah, no, I think there's a lot of truth behind it, though. I mean, look at my dad, for example. My dad, I don't think mental health and suicide, it does not discriminate. My dad was a very successful doctor. He loved being a doctor, and here he is, I'm 3 years old, he was a doctor when I was born. He's the one that actually delivered me. He attempted to OD on phenobarbital. They found him, and he was still putting phenobarbital into his mouth. They had to take him into the hospital and, like, pump his stomach. They didn't even think he was gonna necessarily make it. And it took him a while to really recover from it. And he was able to maintain his license though still and everything and practice for years and years. And then, here all of a sudden, what was that? That had been like 1983, 84. So then in 2017, he kills himself. Obviously never got better. It was still there somewhere.
Did you guys ever talk about that before he
Oh, we
got
were
out?
very open about suicide. We were very open about mental health. But it was like, even with myself, I learned how to handle my mental health from my dad. I learned how to lie about it. I learned how to mask it. I learned how to
Yeah.
pretend that everything was okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And I learned how if I gave myself to others, maybe in some way I'm gonna find some way to heal myself. My dad, unfortunately, he never left any letters behind. My wife did, but he didn't. It was a pretty angry suicide. I mean, he wanted to die, and I get it. My dad wasn't a dad. He didn't know how to be a dad. He
Mhm.
was a doctor. That's what my dad identified as, and he's getting ready to retire. His world is going to crumble. He does not know what he's going into. And I also know that he was just like me because I learned how to deal with therapists the same way he did. And we went to therapy because you're supposed to go to therapy. And how are
And
you
you
doing? I'm just great.
right, right. So you used the word selfish earlier. Can you use that word on your father and or your late
Oh,
wife?
absolutely. My dad was so selfish. He was just selfish in life in general.
What about your ex-wife?
Yeah.
The act we're talking about. I don't know about their life, their
Yeah,
disposition.
the act itself, because the act itself, if she would have said that I'm at the point that I'm going to kill myself and would have told me,
Yeah.
oh, dude, I would have stopped my world and I would have been down there. No, we're getting you to a hospital. We'll go through this. I would have given up everything.
She didn't tell you for a reason.
Mhm,
Just like you didn't tell anybody for a reason, I assume
mhm,
either. You didn't make a blast on fucking Instagram or TikTok on that day.
mm.
I have a feeling all that came later anyway, right?
Yeah, I did.
That whole empire that we're gonna talk about in a little bit. You got a book?
I do. It's still with the editor. One day I'll have it out.
Well, you don't know this about me, but I have a gift for memoir titles. Is it a memoir?
Uh-huh.
It's already got a title, so I can't help you at this point. But tell me what it's called.
It's called Out of the Darkness, and it was just I actually did it all through Otter AI
I love it. Yeah.
because I suck at writing.
No, no. I mean, that's so people don't know. I don't. Yeah, you just get to talk.
Yeah, one of my things is I walk every day because it's part of my grounding and just even meditation.
Yeah.
And I literally walk every walk I would do a chapter,
Oh, that's cool.
and I would talk out a whole chapter. And then my big thing I do a lot with apps. I'm part owner of a couple different apps out there, and I have some mental health apps coming out too. And
When mental health meets capitalism, it can go sideways.
oh yeah, no, tremendously it can.
That's probably a different podcast, but there's a lot going on there for sure. Since 2018, that day, how frequently, if at all, do you ideate?
Not anymore. I mean, I used to, and I can't even tell you the last time I did. It just eventually got to the point where I look back and I'm like, wow, I don't even know the last time I used to think about it. But at the time, even afterwards, there was a lot of times where I'm like, I wish I would have just did this. Why did I call my mom? Why did I care that this was frozen? What if I just get in my car and I get hit by another car? I go through that red light. What if I just walk through, a stop sign, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a word for that, and I don't know what it is. It's like a kind of suicide, but it's like a fuck it suicide.
Yeah, it's kinda I mean, it kinda takes away the guilt because it's essentially an accident, It
Eh,
wasn't really your fault, you didn't really fully try, there was outside factors, so it's
yeah, right.
not as bad, right?
One could argue, sure. I don't know when Otter AI came out, but I'm assuming you didn't use Otter AI when you wrote your notes, your letters.
No, no, not at all.
You actually used a pen and a pad.
Oh, yeah.
Was that hard?
It was numbing. It wasn't really hard.
It was just something that had to be done.
Yeah, it was just like I didn't want people to be in question, because I saw how much questions they had with my dad when he died versus when my wife killed herself, she left letters behind. And so I wanted them to have as much closure as possible.
It's not a selfish move.
That part wasn't.
No.
That part I wanted to do my best, but then even like looking back and stuff, and even what I was writing, it's like, why didn't I just tell them that to their face?
Yeah, well, we have our reasons. I mean, it's hard because the face-to-face stuff is the best. Is the best, but it's hard. Did you, in your struggles, spend any time in either? I'm gonna make an assumption you went to an addiction facility at some point.
No,
Never did.
I never did because no one ever told me about DTs. My biggest regret, and I share about it a lot, my biggest regret that held me back a lot and hurt me so much was that I didn't go to rehab. I wish I would have. Would have saved me a lot.
Did you ever spend time in a mental health facility or psych unit?
Nope. I lied to my therapist.
Well, you have a therapist now.
Oh yeah.
Do you lie now?
Oh no, absolutely not. No, I go in with a goal, dude. My shit's. I'm real enough to the point that told my therapist even because this is a new one I did because I wanted to start EMDR. I go by the sixth appointment, I'm going to start wanting to cancel my appointments just because I'm going to feel I'm healed. It's a cycle that I go through and I have to stop. So just let you know by like the sixth one, I'm going to probably be resisting this some. And we need to find a way to push through to make sure I'm here to my eighth and ninth appointment so that we can come back to this and then find out why I'm pushing back. I overly communicate with my therapist now.
Changed man.
Oh yeah.
I have a few questions I ask all my guests, and I'm going to ask them just because it's protocol for me, but well, I don't want to make any assumptions because I'm not always right. One of the questions I ask is how many people know we're talking? Because often the case is nobody does, or maybe one person, because mostly I never talk about this. You are not that person. And I know that because you do a lot of work in this space on social media. I'm pretty sure whether they know we're having this conversation right now or not, like you're open about just about everything, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I have a semicolon tattoo. As soon as I see somebody semicolon tattoo somewhere, I will bring it up. Like, who did you lose, or was it yourself? You know, I'll have a conversation with anyone, anywhere.
And we talk about not talking about it, but I bet most of the time people appreciate it.
A lot of times people do, and it's amazing how many people. You know, I've ran into just a ton of people that appreciate it because they lost a loved one, even, and that's why they have the semicolon tattoo, or they lost a child, or they lost a spouse. You know, people appreciate the fact that there's just awareness being brought to it.
How many people in your life do you have today that if you were having suicidal thoughts, non-strangers, not somebody who you've messaged a few times, maybe who is a fan of yours on Instagram, people in your life that you can talk about it in full and feel okay about it and not feel worse during or after the conversation?
All of them.
No, good for you.
About 15, 20.
Wow. You're the exception.
Yeah, no, I own it, and it really helped me break free from a lot of it. I also ask for it from everybody around me, and even like my wife, like if she notices that I'm starting to slip a little bit mentally, what's going on? Something's up. And instant thing is you get a little defensive. What do you mean nothing's going on? Hold on, wait. If you're noticing something, let me take a self inventory real quick of what is going on, and is something off? Do I have to look at something? I mean, there's so many things constantly happening that can adjust us. I mean, I at one point, my wife brought up that she's like, something's not right with you and you're not a lot of fun and you're like depressed and I don't know what's up. And it was like, at first I'm like pissed off. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm fine. But I'm like, no, like this is a valid thing that my wife is communicating to me. And she communicates the way that I need to be communicated to. And so it was like, all right, let me kind of dig into this. And just ironically, I happened to want to check my cortisol levels. But so I was like, here, I'll do all of my hormones. And it turned out my testosterone was tremendously low. And then I started talking to my doctor, and I even started talking to my therapist and stuff. And like low testosterone can lead to a lot of brain fog. And I'm like, yeah, I do have like this numbness. And wow, okay. I started dressing this, and it starts. You know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
let me find out what's wrong, and let me find out what I can do because I want the best out of this life.
You're somebody's clearly active and fortunately sounds like has the resources to do that kind of work. Did they ever find, you mentioned early on in life, ADD and ADHD, diagnoses have their place, but were you ever diagnosed with anything else that you think is accurate?
I think everything I was diagnosed with was pretty accurate except for general anxiety disorder.
What were the other ones?
MDD, major depressive disorder, and then PTSD.
It could be, this could be about anything that it resonates with you, whether it's addiction, suicide, ideating, suicide loss. What are one or two, perhaps more, really big myths or misconceptions that you want to call bullshit on?
I think the biggest thing I have the biggest issue with is probably when it comes to keep it on more of the topic of suicide is the suicide hotline. Because have you ever called it?
Fuck yeah. I was a counselor for a little while.
It's shared with the LGBTQ plus community. It's shared with the VA. It's a shared line, and people don't realize instantly all of a sudden that it's a shared line.
There's
90% of the people out there don't. And I think the biggest thing that pisses me off when it's, mental health awareness or suicide prevention month, everybody posts the suicide hotline. Yeah, it's 988 now. I think that's very smart that they did, very intelligent. But the true information around the suicide hotline is the most needed service there is, and it is the most underfunded, underregulated, under everything service there is out there.
there's also a lack of transparency, right? They don't tell you.
Very lack of transparency. You don't know what suicide hotline, essentially call center you're calling. None of this is federally regulated. There's no from one call center to another call center, there isn't a manual that says this is what we do across the board. I mean, originally suicide hotline was kind of set up as in like people doing this out of their garage. And I mean, not to that extent, but to that.
Well, the history going way back, they were more like what are considered warm lines today.
Yeah.
It got to hardcore crisis, bring the cops in intervention much later.
Yeah. No. And even now, it's the funniest thing is like I do a lot of videos on it even. Whereas like, here, I'll call the suicide hotline, show you what happens. You call and they're better now. I mean, there was times where I would call and you're on hold for a while.
Yep.
Everyone always thought that the suicide hotline, I was the same. I thought it was like calling 911. All of a sudden it rings once or twice and like, hey, 911, and you hang up on them and all of a sudden you're getting a call back. They're going to hunt you down now because something happened. You know what I mean? But with the suicide hotline, I mean, you can be talking to them and hang up and you're not going to get a call back. They're not going to text you to find out if you're okay. And there's so much there that could truly help people, for especially the people, like you said, that have nobody.
I have a lot of issues with imminent risk questions, which is it's a longer conversation. They have their place. People don't know that if they answer those questions, that someone's knocking on their door. Now, I understand why they wouldn't say in advance, by the way, if you answer yes to all of these. However, that's a kind of fucked up surprise to have when you have a lot of people who are untrained in de-escalating, and they have handcuffs and they take you to a place that is often not helpful. Sometimes it is. I'm not discouraging it, but I've been in two of them. I can speak from personal experience. And I also know that getting a $10,000 bill probably doesn't help your mental health. So, and that's part of the checklist that I talk about a lot. I don't have answers. So people might say, why bring up the problem if you don't have a solution? Well, because it's a problem. And it's also feeding into people being silenced, because how many people out there need help, but had a shitty conversation or went to a psych unit and now will not reach out for help.
I agree tremendously with you, and it comes to the thing that there is unfortunately solutions to it, but we're in a society and in a country even too that doesn't hold it quite to like you said. I mean, let's be real. What affects your mental health? Money affects your mental health. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, of course.
When you can't afford to live and you are starving and you can't afford to put gas in your car and that shit fucks you up, and now you're a failure and you're not a provider, and then you get on social media and it's toxic as fuck because the Joneses just went on their third vacation. You don't realize they're $100,000 in debt and they're one paycheck away from
it doesn't matter at that moment. Right.
What's important in our society and what's highlighted in our society, unfortunately, is so many times the wrong things.
Yeah. You have large following on several social media platforms, including Snapchat, which was surprising to hear. I just didn't know much about Snapchat, but it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and then Snapchat. And if I'm correct, do you have the same handle on all of them?
On all of them, the Mr. Impulsive is there on all of them except for YouTube. YouTube is Eric B. Zink, and I have multiples because I categorize everything. It's a little bit of the autism in me, and it's how my brain kind of also segregates stuff. So like I do whole accounts that are called, the Life of Zinc, and it's all about ADHD, and it's my ADHD hacks and how I learned and what I wish I would have known. Then I have the Mr. Impulsive that's all about addiction and mental health and suicide and all that. And then I do a lot when it comes to other accounts that are just addiction recovery education.
Wow.
And so
you're really busy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I do it full time. It's what I do for a living, and I do a lot of traveling. I'll do speakings at schools and different conferences and stuff. Yeah, it's just I think sharing and being real about it, and I enjoy it. It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
fun to help people in the best way that I can essentially at least get a conversation started.
I got one more question, and then I want you to add anything else you want to add, because I don't always ask all the questions or the best questions, and you might have other things you want to share. It's called the pink and purple pill question. It's pretty simple. I give you a pink and purple pill. The color really doesn't matter. If you take it, you go to bed, you go to sleep. There's no pain. You don't wake up, and nobody knows it's a suicide. I give that to you right now through Zoom. What do you do with that pill?
Flushes down the toilet.
Okay. You get rid of it.
Oh yeah,
Why?
because I love my life.
What do you do it in 2018?
I would have taken it in a heartbeat.
And that's where it gets weird.
hmm Dissecting, okay, what changed between then and there. And even for me, that's where a lot of it honestly was. A lot of it was therapy. A lot of it was addressing my childhood. A lot of it was understanding my addictions, understanding what I was escaping from and running from,
Mm-hmm.
because all I wanted to do was run away in life.
I think I'm still doing that. We try though.
There's still times I catch myself starting to try and run away,
Yeah.
and I have to go, wait, what am I running away from?
I mean, I don't think you're gonna ever be like perfect, right?
No,
It's part of the game. I think you kind of just answered a question that I don't always ask, but I want to ask you. I was going to do this in a sort of an imaginary way, but it's not really imaginary. There is a young man out there. We can pick an age, any number of them: 5 years old, 12 years old, 20 years old, 35 years old, just like you. What do you say to him, if anything?
enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, it would just depend on where they're at. At different points in life, different things would hit differently. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus also what they're going through. I mean, the biggest thing I think I would tell everybody, and I still tell everybody, is that it's okay to address your childhood trauma, because so many people I run out there, especially men, I had a good childhood. I was fed. We weren't poor. I had a roof over my head.
Mm-hmm.
I always ate. I always had but
I'm
just
now.
because I had all that and I'm
Uh-huh.
comparing myself with a kid who's beaten or assaulted or homeless, just because that's my comparison level doesn't devalue still maybe the things that I learned in an environment that maybe my parents didn't know any better, which did cause firm core beliefs in me of a negative outlook on how the world works and cause in a way, shape, or form some sort of trauma. One of the biggest healing moments I had in the last 5 years was learning about anxious attachment style. Now, the attachment, it was something that when I started really digging into it, blew my mind. It makes a lot of sense of how you start in a fight or flight mode. You have a loving caregiver and you have a non-loving caregiver essentially. And so your body, you're as a child, you're raised very young all of a sudden that you don't know if you're going to get love or no love. So what do you start to do? And so like for me, I would, when things would happen or I would get triggered with shit, it wasn't necessarily me getting triggered. I could picture myself as a little kid getting triggered. I could picture what happened in my childhood that was very identical to what's happening right now and why all of a sudden I'm acting out the way that I am and I'm flipping out. And I might not be a little kid crying and bawling his eyes out, but now I'm an adult losing my shit on somebody for no apparent reason, that they're looking at me, what? And now all of a sudden, I'm losing a friendship over something dumb or a relationship or whatever it might be. And all this stuff starts to kind of compound. And if you can't emotionally regulate well, then your brain finds really easy answers like alcohol.
Man, that's the key, isn't it? Is how do you respond?
hmm
How do you respond to all this stuff in life?
The hardest thing for me to do is to start practicing, one, to realize what it was like I always hated the word too, especially as a guy. I don't know if other guys feel that way. I hated the word triggered because it just reminded me of like a weak word. If you want to know my opinion, it was like a weak. What do you mean triggered?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But when I really realized what it was, like, okay, no, it's bringing out an emotion in me. It's bringing out the bad essentially in me. It's going to bring out the pain of what does it actually feel like, of realizing that when something's really starting to bother me, it starts in my chest and it's actually in breathing. And I lost one of my coping skills originally. I used to smoke for a really long time. And what would I do when I take a deep breath? Well, I'd smoke a cigarette. It was actually a natural coping tool. Well, when I stopped smoking, I took away an unhealthy coping tool. And then if I can't, it feels like I just can't catch my breath. And then I start to warm up and I can just feel the heat in my face all of a sudden. And now I can't breathe. Now my face is on fire. It feels like I have needles and I'm about ready to just lose my shit. And I emotionally, all logic goes out and I am 100% emotional, irrational. I'm going to say shit that I'm going to regret.
Yeah.
So learning all of a sudden that, oh, wait, I'm having trouble breathing. This is bothering me. I can acknowledge this. All right, let me go take a breath. Give me 5. I'll be right back. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to change my environment, smell the air a little bit. For whatever reason, water and the outside really calm me. Same with music. I'm going to literally walk around my yard here for about 5 minutes, pick up some rocks, kick some mulch back in. Okay, I'm regulated back. Let's go. Let's talk about this, and let me also address real quick of how I just got really deregulated.
Yeah. Sounds pretty healthy.
It's taken a long time.
Yeah. No, and it wasn't overnight. I know that.
No, I wish it was. I really do.
If there was a pill for that, right?
Yeah,
I want to thank you for talking with me, man.
absolutely.
Is there anything else you want to add that we didn't get to?
No, not offhand. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate somebody who does a podcast on this topic.
Thanks, man. I do the best I can. And then Kelly, if you're listening, thanks for connecting me and Eric up. I know, Eric, you're a pretty busy guy and you don't do a lot of podcasts. So I'm grateful for that.
No, and let me know when it's up, and I'm more than happy to share it everywhere too. I think it's really important.
I will for sure. And I think it'll help people. I think all these conversations help people. You don't know who's out there. And I know you obviously do it because you spend literally the bulk of your waking hours doing this kind of work, loosely speaking, with trying to help people out. So appreciate your work, appreciate your time, my man. And what's the rest of your day like?
Work. To shoot content. I have to shoot short format content, and then it's editing YouTube videos.
Good times, baby. Good times.
Good time had by all.
Appreciate you, man, and I hope your rest of your day is good.
You too, man.
Take care. As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. And special thanks to Eric in Idaho, Boise, Idaho. Thanks, Eric. If you are a suicide attempt survivor or ideator and you'd like to talk, please reach out. I would like to talk with you. hello@suicidenoted.com. And that is all for this week's episode. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you soon.